Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Menasha Common Council meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could we have the roll, please?
Alderman Nichols. Here. Alderman Taylor. Alderman Sevenick.
Here.
Alderman Langdon.
Here.
Alderman Kruger.
Here.
Alderman Tom Grady.
Here.
Alderman Ted Grady.
Here.
Alderman Rapella.
Thank you.
Randy did tell me he'd be about 5 minutes late because he's coming from Neenah from practice.
Okay.
Thank you.
So seeing that there are no people in the gallery, we'll move on to the reports from the department heads. We're going to try to limit these to about 15 minutes so we can get through all 4 of them by the end of the night. So we are up with the library to start out this evening. Director Lunds.
Jim wants to start.
Thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about our library. We had a very busy year this past year again. We have a very heavily used library, and we continue to be a popular place for community organizations. I think we're holding between 250 and 275 outside meetings in the library each year. And I was remembering back when I was on the library board when we were designing the library, I think we were holding about 50 meetings a year. So incrementally, we've really increased the number of people that come and use our library. This past year, we had an additional private meeting room that we added for tutoring. We offer tutoring services, and demand for that continues to grow. So we were able within our budget to add a tutoring room, but I can tell you that we have to find ways to add more, which is a good problem to have. The other thing that we did this last year that we're proud of, we have a super relationship with the Menasha School District and have had for a long time. And we identified a growing Hispanic population, and so we've met with Chris and his team, and we are now way more involved with the school district and offering library services to the Hispanic community. We have an extensive library collection, and we need to be able to tell them that it's in our library waiting for them. So, but we've been real active at Bontas. Big news this last year, we completed a very in-depth strategic planning plan that will guide us through the year 2023. And there's 3 major things I want to mention, and then I'll turn it over to Vicki and we can talk about the budget. But we empowered our Buildings and Grounds Committee to take a look at how our library is going to be equipped to provide services to the community in the future. Our older part of our library was built in 1960, so it's 60 years old. The new addition was in 2013. And libraries around the country are doing a lot of different things. It seems like every other meeting we're talking about new learning tools for youth. Libraries are are cooperating with social services agencies to have them come in and have days in the library where people can come in and talk about service needs that they have rather than having to run to Appleton or Oshkosh or somewhere. So we're looking into those kinds of things. So we've empowered our committee to take a look at the library needs, looking out 5, 10 to 20 years. We've asked them to come back with a report by 2021, so this is not something that's going to happen immediately, but we want them to take their time. They'll probably use an outside consultant to come over and look at our library and do an assessment and help them come up with a plan for the future. We've started talking about growing an endowment fund. We have a small endowment. Surrounding libraries have millions to millions in their endowment fund, and the interest they generate from that can help offset some of the costs of new and library materials. And so we set a goal to increase our endowment fund. We'd like to be able to generate about $35,000 in interest each year that we could use to do some of the extras rather than have to come to the council and ask for an increase in the budget each year. We also have an active marketing committee that's looking at how we can reach out to the community and let them know about some of the services and the new things that we're planning to do. We'd like to be a little more visible out there. And lastly, and again, we have an excellent and extremely dedicated board of directors who are really committed to maintaining the excellence of the Menasha Library now and down the road. So with that, I will turn over to Vicki and we can answer any questions about our strategic plan, the budget, whatever.
So before you start, Vicki, we want to start by just saying that the library budget starts on page 157 and goes through 161. And then we'll let you go. Did you have something else, Mark, that you wanted to say before we
Just
start?
wanted to add to come out, piggyback off of Jim.
Sure.
It was really fantastic. I ran into this person, not the last meeting, 2 weeks before, and we both were waiting for the elevator, and I says, oh, are you here for the meeting? Somebody coming to the meeting? And she goes, no, I couldn't quite understand her. Well, anyway, real short here, she is the teacher for the school district. And she told me that she works for the school district. And I go, oh, wow. And I thought that was really cool, that my first night here back, and I bump into her, and it sounds like, and I asked somebody else in their room, and they are really extremely pleased. So, boy, I hope, if we can, whatever we can do to help to get one of them people. So, thank you.
Okay, Vicki, you're up.
I would just like to acknowledge the trustees who are here. On the way to my left is Cindy Witt, and then you've met Jim Engelbert. And this is the vice chairman of the board, Bob Goltz. And I think Jim pretty much said it all, and you have 5 minutes. Yeah.
If you just want to run through any major changes in your budget for
The
this
major-
year versus last year?
I think the major changes that the board has made it their goal for the last few years to build up the materials budget. And this year, what they're requesting is, it ended up being $212,000, which would be a nice increase over last year, it was $195,000. So, that particular line of the budget took a hit, especially in 2013, it looks like, and they've been working on building it back to where it was in history, and that would put it close.
Alderman Crotty? Maybe. There we go.
Thank you, Mayor. Question either for Jim or for Vicki. On page 159 in our Alderman book, I think there's that $10,000 study. Is that what you're relating to with this type of expansion, or what you're going to do with the system and try to have
Yes,
other monies?
we put $10,000 originally into the capital improvements fund to fund a study which would be maybe late next year or into the year after. And Mayor instructed us to move that into the management part of it.
Okay.
But that's what that's for.
That's what it's for.
We really don't have any idea what we need, but we're hoping that we can use that to have some outside expert come in and do an assessment, maybe make some suggestions on how we can increase our efficiencies and provide more services. So.
And then also a little bit below that, you have, your freight elevator repairs, but then you have all others, which, has $20,000 in it. Do you know what ideas for that money is for?
The freight elevator repair was also moved into the operating budget.
No, that's fine, yeah,
Yeah,
5,000,
I think it's in line item 2404.
but you have an all other, all other stated for 20,000. Just wondering what's all other.
I'm
Well-
guessing Director Alex could probably answer that for you.
Yeah, it's in yellow. That's the other.
What line item is that? 2403. 2403. Okay, building maintenance.
All other is going to be all other costs related to maintaining the building and grounds, some electrical, plumbing. We try and do as much of it in-house as we can. So I don't know where she give me here, but generally that's what it
Is
is.
it? Okay.
Some of that includes our outside contracting services for HVAC and all that kind of
HVAC,
stuff as
correct.
well,
Mhm.
correct?
Correct,
Oh, why you
so.
broke
Is that, I mean,
broke that down like that?
is that 20,000 enough, you think? I mean,
I would say so, yes, historically speaking.
Thanks, Vic.
We have good years and we have bad years.
okay.
Yeah, I just want to point out that we have a continuing problem with our elevator. We struggled with it all last year. I think it's working okay now.
Better.
But we had a couple of different vendors come in and look at it, and it has a mind of its own. Sometimes it stops halfway down, and sometimes the door doesn't want to open. But I think in the last few months, it's been working pretty well, but historically, that's been a problem for years.
So I just wanted to expand on your question about the consultants for the facility study. The Buildings and Grounds Committee has been nice enough to ask me to come to the first two meetings. We did meet with two architects already, and we're meeting with someone that I'm really excited to meet with in about 2 weeks, I believe. One of the premier library designers in the country that's coming to see us and was very interested in what we were doing with our library. So that 10,000 is seed money to fundraise to get the study that will actually be needed. That 10,000 will be by no means enough to actually do a study the way that they're looking to do this. But if we really want to have our library provide the types of services that libraries will be providing 20 years from now, we have to start planning now, and that's what that's for. Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you, Mayor. On page 159, you were talking about other, and then there's this other municipal entities. Can you explain what that is?
That's our automation system. It's our library catalog and it's our network that we don't use like the email network that the city does. So that's our network with Winnifox.
Okay,
And,
that's Winnifox?
yeah,
Okay, thank you. Why don't you put that on there? It'd be easier for me to know what it is.
oh, I'm sorry.
Fox right on the line item.
Is it on? the
Yeah, I
line?
don't know why they call it that.
Next year.
Okay.
You can put anything you want in the description underneath it, but
See, when you
title-
use words like other and what's the other one, miscellaneous, then, you know, then
Sounds kinda
questions get raised.
Kind of vague.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
anything else for the library? Well, thank you for coming twice. We appreciate that.
Yes, it was.
I think it's going to be an exciting time in the library in the next couple of years as we move forward with some of those studies.
And thank you for the opportunity and good luck the rest of the night. You guys got a lot on your plates. So.
You're always welcome to come back anytime, Jim.
Thanks, Don.
Okay, we are moving on to the Park and Rec Department. Brian's got his PowerPoint up and ready to go.
Get my name tag out here. Okay, we're going to go through this very quickly,
Do you
obviously.
want to quickly introduce Travis
Oh,
behind you? He's directly behind you.
Yeah, got Travis McDonald here. Park and Street Superintendent, right? Did I get that right?
So Travis was recently promoted as we kind of shifted everyone up the ladder as we move forward. So Travis is on his second budget this year.
And I'm happy to have Adam Alex here next to me. He can answer any questions that I can't. So I'm just going to touch really briefly on 2019. We had a busy, active year. Really, it was the first full year from our organizational changes that took place in 2018. So we had a very busy year. So won't go through all of these here, but most of you have heard of our pickleball courts in Smith Park, heavily used. We had a couple programs going on there on Monday and Wednesday evenings, and the cool thing about that is our park department really helped build those. They did the paving, and really was a group effort. As you know, we're continuing our Smith Park shore wall cap work, and that's going to go into 2020. We did a fantastic job renovating the restrooms at Smith Park. They're beautiful, very nice. We worked with an outside organization, and we were able to redeck our skate park and make some big repairs over there, and so that skate park is back in good shape. And very soon we'll be bringing forward our comprehensive outdoor rec plan for the council to take a look at. That's been a long process, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, and so that plan will be brought in front of the council here shortly. Moving on to recreation, big thing I want to highlight there is we did hire a part-time rec supervisor, Megan Sackett. She couldn't make it here tonight because she's part-time, but we're trying to. We'll be talking here in a minute about trying to have her go full-time and be involved with the senior center in 2020. Just a couple things on this page here. Don't want to touch on everything, but we were able to train one of our assistant managers at the pool, and she became a lifeguard instructor, and that's an exciting move for us because now it's going to be a lot easier for us to train our own lifeguards and sort of control our own hiring destiny, if you will. So the other thing that happened there is we were very fortunate to have a very experienced crew at the pool this year, and I want to tip our cap to the Human Resources Department. They really worked with us, and we got a really great crew in 2019 there. Last but not least, the Park Department, we trained some 4 people there that are now certified pool operators, and it's going to make us a lot easier to operate the pool, take some off of Thad and Adam's plate. Moving on to forestry, very busy year there, both in terms of tree planting and tree removal. We're still, at the ash tree problem. We took out and stumped 125 trees, which is a very large number, but even below that, even more surprising, I guess, if you will, is the 275 trees. I can't remember the last time we planted. I don't think we ever planted 275 trees, terrace and park trees. So that's again a nice tip of the cap to Thad and the park crew to get that done. Nothing really much to report on the cemetery, just trying to keep the turf in good shape there, keep the weeds down and keep the flowers looking good. So I think we did a good job at the cemetery as well. Marina, was not a optimal summer at the marina, but Diane is still at the helm there, so to speak, and she's always runs a very good operation there. Gas sales, surprisingly, remain pretty strong. And she was we were quite aggressive on our pricing there, so we're trying to keep that marina fund as solid as we can make it. On the trails, Province Terrace Trail, that was our big project, capital project last year. It really worked out well, and we were able to secure a sizable couple of grants to make that project work. So coming up in 2020, the big 3 there at the top, Jefferson Park parking lot And all of these are really one project. There are 3 projects within one project. We plan to, put these all together in one bid early in the year to get optimal pricing. So it's the, it's the pavilion, parking lot, it's the West Diamond. We'll be taking that and regrading that area and creating a green space in that area. And one of the first items of development there would be the 2 half-court basketball courts there. A couple other, grading and drainage projects, not, I guess, as exciting as some of the other things, but things that we need to do to keep our parks looking good. The pool, we've touched on this before. We have some plans here to take care of some the ceiling tiles at the bathhouse. We want to retile the male and female changing rooms there at the workshop. Earlier this year, we showed some photos of that area, the ceiling. I think we all would agree that they don't look real good. And we do, as I touched on earlier, we now have a person who can teach lifeguarding class, so we think the best time to do that, we're going to try to offer this class in late May, sort of right before we open, and we want to gear that towards Menasha students as much as we can. Marina, you've heard me mention this before. We need to replace the 2 below-ground fuel tanks with 1 large above-ground fuel tank. There's state mandates out there that are driving this, and so we're going to proceed with that. The game plan there is to do that after the marina closes, or very shortly before the marina closes. I think we want to get in there and get things started there, and we've already raised the slip rental for 2020, so we want to keep that marina fund as healthy as we can make it. It's going to be another active year for forestry. We'll be seeking our Tree City USA designation again. The big planting project next year will be out along LP, the new trail that went in there. We do want to plant a lot of trees out in that area. It's not the full 200, but about 100 or so might go along that trail, and another 100 or so in that district out there. And we are seeking some ATC grant assistance for that tree planting as well. Moving on to trails, we're working on the Nature's Way Trail extension. We want to crack fill and seal the trails at Jefferson, Barker, some of the couple maintenance items. So the recreation highlights, and this is, I guess, is designed to sort of be a segue into the senior center discussion. I'll just skip down to the last 2 bullet points. So what Director McKinney has outlined in her memo to you of a couple weeks ago is we started discussing internally about what's the senior center operation in general, and we felt like it was just sort of in the city's best interest to have the city sort of get involved more in the operation of the senior center. We know that we're in a better position to establish collaborations with outside organizations. We can collaborate with the library just because we're part of the city, and so we think we can sort of capitalize on our strengths along with capitalizing on the Y's strengths. So we're looking at this as really a win-win for the city and for the seniors in the city, and we think it's the way to go. And then on top of that, it just sort of ironically, we have Megan Sackett, our rec supervisor, who has a background in senior programming. This area of expertise is not new to her. She's comfortable with doing it. She's looking forward to doing it, and she's been with us now for about 7 months, and we like her. We like her performance, and we're excited about collaborating with our health department and really to do a great job running the senior center. So I guess that kind of frames it for you. And so this is a funding neutral proposal. It really is not any more or less expensive than it would have been, doing it the old way. So we have we're envisioning about 30 to 40% of the rec supervisor's time being devoted to supervising the senior center. So we don't expect Megan to be over there on a daily basis, but we do expect her to, supervise and oversee the general operation of the senior center. And if she were here tonight, she'd tell you that one of the key things to that working is making sure we hire a couple of part-time people that are well-trained, that are activity, sort of coordinators and programs. And, these people are gonna have to wear, some different hats over at the senior center. And so that's sort of the key to making this work. And so that is how it's structured in the budget right now. And we've met, quite a bit on this, and we're confident that it can work, and it's gonna be a better situation for the seniors of Menasha. So I'm sure Nancy and others have comments and questions about that, but I just want to sort of kick things off because this is, really probably the biggest, part of our budget in 2020, the biggest change, that is.
So before we go too far with the senior center, let's get any questions that people have about the cemetery, the park and rec programs, the forestry, and the CIP budget items. If you guys have questions for Director Tungate, then we'll ask Director McKinney to come up and we'll do the senior center, and then we'll move on to the health department. Did you have more presentation about any specifics within the budget, Brian, or?
No, what's up here is really what's on the cover pages of the budget. So it's kind of in two places.
Alderman Sevenek.
My one thing is that I would hope Brian would stick around during the changeover with Nancy.
Yeah, we were planning on doing
Because,
that.
we may have, I need to hear what she has to say. I have some questions about it, but I don't want to necessarily direct them at you at this point. I think it has to be both of you, so.
That's why I brought the second microphone over for them. Alderman Rapella.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian, I've got this information dated October 10th, 2018, and it concerned the Recreation Division restructuring, and it talked about hiring another individual to enhance your recreation program. And it talked about how it was creating, consideration was given to creating a full-time position, but frankly, we didn't feel the city had the financial capacity. This part-time position will be very desirable, and we anticipate a good number of qualified people. According to the average salary was $49,500. Our full-time position was going to be $45,760. So if we were going to go half-time, $22,880, which you have listed here. What is this new person? I know she's hired half-time now. So how are we going to pay for the other half? Is that going to come out of the health department, or how's that planning on coming from? Because right now you did a whole lot of background where we really couldn't afford a full-time, but a half-time was great.
So the way it's set up in the budget right now is it's the placeholding, salary within there is $50,761. So that's split 30% in the senior center, 60% in rec, 8% at the pool, and 2% in the farmer's market. That's how it's broken out into the budget right now.
So what, years back, you had Donnie, who, and there's probably somebody else after Donnie, who kind of did your summer stuff, and then you, and then I can't remember if there was anybody else that was in your entourage. And so now we seem to have more recreation personnel. How did we grow so big?
Well, so we're at 50% now, and it's like I just stated, it'd be at 60%. So that is a little bit of a bump. I envision, Megan, the rec supervisor, it's going to be pretty seamless. She may be at the senior center for a few hours in the morning and may come back and do some rec stuff. But we're really broadening her job duties primarily with the senior center time. Yeah, we're taking a little bit of bump up recreationally, and would I like to have a senior center director and a full-time rec supervisor? Yeah, probably, but again, it just sort of made sense, with the staff and just operationally, for us to do this.
But years ago, you got away, you were able to survive with yourself and Donnie kind of helping out in the summer, right? Or
Yeah,
was there somebody else?
Yeah, Donnie was like 10 years ago or so
Right,
now. Yeah, so that was a little ways
Right.
ago, yeah.
Okay, so
But
then,
we're trying to grow our program. We're trying to, increase our, our services and,
right, but I do notice the softball has been taken away. It's kind of left to the bar in Nina. I can't remember the name of it, but they kind of run your softball. We've eliminated kind of basketball at Butamore. We don't have 5-on-5 basketball anymore. We still have the open house, or the open gym at Menasha High, which has been there for probably 50 years, since Luthold started it, and Dean Oosterhouse did that. Stan kind of runs the 3-on-3 tournament. Softball's on its way out. Trying to think if there was something else. The trail is pretty much done as far as the trail to Nina. Just wondering why we need to expand our rec department.
well, so one thing that's exciting about this senior center proposal is, I think we all share this, that we see that as being more than just a senior center. We want to be open in the evenings and weekends. We see some intergenerational programming going on. We see a lot of opportunity, not just for seniors at the senior center, but having more, families and youth
Right.
participative programs there. So we're looking at, bigger and better things, not,
Right.
kind of resting on what we've done in the past.
Okay, and so I'm hoping, because the health department is almost self-sufficient as far as their funding and their grants and things, that we could utilize some of their grants and things to fund some of our senior center situation. I'll let you go. Thank you. I know I've taken up enough time. Thank you.
Did we want to let Director McKinney do her presentation on the senior center? It looks like we're going for the senior center first.
We could. I don't know. If we're going to go backwards, it would mean I have to go back through my PowerPoint, so.
His was done, yes.
You can go down to the,
Here.
senior center.
The senior center is on page 151, 152. There it is, right at the top of the screen. Look at that, Nancy's prepared.
Over the years, I've learned these things, so. No, I think this is a very exciting opportunity, and we've been talking about this for quite some time. As Brian mentioned, we have a good opportunity with a brand-new person with fresh eyes that has done this work before, and we also know that our senior population is actually growing. About 25% of the folks in Menasha are over the age of 55, so this is something that is good, and also they have talked to us and told us what they would like for programming. We ended up with a grant this summer. It was a community dialogue grant, and we talked to over 60 seniors in small group sessions. In fact, Christine Jacobson, our deputy director, actually led that effort, and they told us what they wanted. And basically it was, we love Menasha, we love the assets, we see ourselves aging in place, we have resources we'd like. Some of the things that we are looking at are lifelong learning and lifelong wellness opportunities. Well, if you combine that with the opportunity we have with the new Park and Rec supervisor, we have a perfect way to bridge that gap and make sure that there's intergenerational programs. One of the items that we did do, because we were thoughtful about this, we're very appreciative of the relationship we've had with the YMCA. I think that they're very helpful to us, but we stepped back, both parties, and said, where are our talents and where are our opportunities and skill sets? And, we want to contract with them, but in the area of exercise programs. And then we would be able to take over the operations piece of it. We know that having a person in place that's extremely talented and skilled part-time isn't sometimes enough to keep someone attracted to the position they have. So I think this is a nice way to make sure that we have an individual skilled and ready to assume responsibilities and stay here. We would propose the current contract we have with the YMCA in 2019 was around $93,000, as you saw in the budget. It would have gone up 3%. That's basically what it's been doing every year. So when we first developed the budget, we weren't exactly sure we would go in this direction or propose it. We just left it as a contract, as we normally would, then had our conversations with the YMCA, and then stepped back and said, you know, this just makes sense. And you can see it would be budget neutral, as Brian said. The next step is we actually talked to Winnebago County Aging and Disability Resource Center that holds 2 grants at the Health Department. The first one is for our Health Screening 60+ program, which is Megan Polly, our public health nurse, and then also with the Senior Center operations. And the comments they made were, you know your city the best, and you can make the best decisions, so it doesn't change that contractual relationship if we made this change. So.
Looks like Alderman Taylor has a question.
I did have a question for Brian, and then we jumped.
We can jump back and forth. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to know the 2020 objectives for the Recreation Department. The large playground area that we have that you're replace the West Diamond at Jefferson Park with an open space site of a future large playground. What type of dollars were we looking for the future large playground?
I think it's 610,000 is in the CIP budget.
Okay. And I know maybe last year, the year before, we were talking about donations and to help fund this. Is there any donations so far for this?
No, we really haven't started that campaign. It's going to be more of a 2021 project. We want to do the parking lots, get that infrastructure in place, and then go after the next phase.
When you say infrastructure,
Meaning the parking lot,
lots.
prepping the grades of that West Diamond area. There's a lot of, undulation there. We want to make sure everything is draining properly before a playground would go in there.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Sevenik.
Thank you, Mayor. Then back over to the senior center issues. First of all, I want to say that my mother loved using the Menasha Senior Center, partly because she was a part of the Y knitting group, and she would have never been a part of the senior center had it not been for the Y. So I think the Y brings a lot to the senior center as far as involvement. To the issue of Brian's part-time rec person, I told this council last time it's going to be part-time, and then the following year, Brian's going to come in and ask for full-time, and that's what's happening. My big issue in this city is that we love to provide all these types of services, and we open it up to everybody in the Fox cities, but yet I and my neighbors have to pay for it. So if we do go in this direction, what guarantee do I have that, and Brian, I wrote down when you said for our seniors here in Menasha, so you said that. What guarantee do I have that this is gonna be for our seniors here in Menasha and the residents here in Menasha? Because I raised this issue last time, and I was kind of given an answer that somehow you're gonna work with the library. When I talked to the library, they had no idea what I was talking about as far as following up on residency. So I mean, I could go out to the city garage anytime and watch 20 or village residents come, try to sneak into the city. I've talked to people that work out there, they've had to turn them around. They think that this is open to them. I'm tired of paying for it, my neighbors are tired of paying for services that other communities use. So I need to know, what's gonna happen with that, so keep that in your mind. And then I got one final statement, and that is, Brian made the statement, what I would really like is to have one full-time park person and one full-time coordinator. I'm gonna tell you that's what's coming next, so anyways. Nancy or Brian, can you help me with this residency type
I think
issue?
we talked a little bit about that, especially within the health department area, so if Nancy wants to expound on that a little bit?
Well, I did go back to Winnebago County and ask for additional funding, and one of the things I said is that I understand that this is a county grant, but the county grant has remained level throughout the years that I've been here and probably well before that. So my suggestion was that we increase the county grant to accommodate some of those people that we are seeing from out of the city. And then also, we have opportunities here now where we may be able to offset, especially those people who are supporting the senior center with their tax dollars, perhaps giving them some sort of break on their fees at the senior center in comparison to people who are non-resident. You want to expand anymore?
I think that was what we were talking about a little bit. There are things that you can come and do at the senior center for free that don't require us to have staff there or instructors. But then there are other things that we're providing instructors for, we're providing materials for. Those items we would charge for, but we would be looking at giving a discount to our residents for those so that they would be getting it less expensive than the full cost, which we'd be charging the non-residents.
And I would agree, and so, you know, the two things, actually there's three things. One is to look at the county grant and see if we can have more of an offset for the expenses that we have incurred for serving lots of residents around the valley. The second is, you know, exactly what we were talking about, you know, making sure that we offer some sort of offset for people who are supporting it with their tax levy. And then the third that I think will help is that Park and Rec have rec desks, which is kind of a seamless way to register. And with that registration, you can capture information. And that's something that we haven't been able to do very well with the YMCA's system because they're not compatible with ours. So I
Well, see,
hear
the
you.
reason you're probably like, well, Stan, you're getting off base, why are you bringing up, them checking, bringing in brush and leaves and stuff? Well, because we have a guy there that has a book that knows whether you are a city resident or not. And he checks in and he says he gets several that try to come in all the time. But he's only working, what, 3 hours?
2 hours.
2 hours? I probably shouldn't even announce that, you know?
But your point is well taken. And we have taken measures to look at that and try to make some progress.
I'm on the border on this, you guys,
Yeah?
just so you know. And it's because mainly of that reason. So we'll see where this goes, but I just feel that I gave fair warning a year ago already, and I feel that nothing was done. So this time you might not get my vote because it wasn't done.
I think what Nancy is trying to say is we've attempted to get the Y to look at
Okay.
who are residents and who are not. We've been unsuccessful in getting them to give us those reports and to help us with resident, non-resident rates. This is an opportunity for us to actually start doing exactly what you want to do and making sure we recover our costs 100% from the people who are non-residents, and that we're able to give a discount to the people that are residents that are already paying taxes. And I think that's what you've been asking for. We've been asking them probably before last year already. Can you at least tell us what percentage of the people coming in are residents and not, and they can't even get those numbers for
Well,
us at this
you know,
point?
Appleton closed their senior center a couple of years ago.
Yes, they
and-
did.
And I don't even know where the closest senior center is, other than here in
There
in
is
Mayberry
Thompson on
here.
Lourdes, which is in Appleton, so
Okay.
there is a,
But it's not
Center.
run through this,
not run
Levy.
through the city.
right? So,
I think one of the advantages here is that we are proposing a system that would be subject to all oversight by the city.
Maybe the one thing I would add to that is, it being kind of new to how the senior center and community on aging work. I mean, I would talk to Megan and say, yeah, this is for primarily city of Menasha residents. This is my perspective coming into this, is that, yeah, we need to reach out to our own residents, and we've been talking about sort of rebranding the senior center, kind of coming, give it a kind of a,
was
maybe a
gonna
bit
be
of an
my
image facelift.
that was gonna be my next thing. Are you making this more like a community center and not necessarily a senior center? Cause you were stating, possibility of doing some different things.
Well, I want to be careful with that because it's
Okay.
a senior center first and foremost.
Right,
But
'cause I
but
think
can we do more with that building? Yeah, I think we can.
There's some opportunities there.
Thank you.
Alderman Rapella.
Thank you, Mayor. Nancy, Silver Sneakers is kind of huge as far as with their Medicare and their health insurance. So they're able to go to the YMCA relatively inexpensively. And Lake Park, where I belong, I know between 9 and 11, most mornings, that place is filled with 50 to 60 seniors. And so they've kind of created their own senior citizen center. They've got some water aerobics classes there, and then they pull out, the whole lobby is filled with chairs, and they sit and gab and they knit and whatever. So they're kind of busy. So they've kind of found a place to hang out where they got the water aerobics and a nice friendly place for them. That's not Silver Sneakers, but so it's more expensive, obviously. The YMCA, they've got their pool. What programs does the senior center? Before the senior center started, all the programs were at the YMCA. What kind of transferred over from the YMCA over to the senior center?
Well, there's two things. The senior center is designated a Silver Sneaker site.
Right,
Yeah,
Yep.
and so it would,
it doesn't have a pool, so okay, go
it
ahead.
doesn't have a pool.
Right,
So that's one of the reasons we want to maintain our relationship with the YMCA, because they have advantages on exercise programs that we don't have to offer.
correct.
So there is a willingness to transition and still have the YMCA do their exercise programs. And then additionally, the Silver Sneakers site, we would maintain that as a city. So it wouldn't change that, and we're working hard to make sure that this transition is as seamless as we possibly can. You'll see in the budget, the draft budget, the option that I sent, that there is a professional services management contract for $7,000 for the month of January, so that we can work with them to make the operations smooth, but that we would still have the exercise programs in place that we do, and then add things that the Park and Rec Department can bring in. So we have kind of thought this through, and, what you're describing is great. There's not going to be one place where everything can be done, but there
Right.
might be a way where we can collaborate with other entities to get things done.
So what would entice a person to go to the senior center versus go to the YMCA, since they're both Silver Sneakers?
Well, I can tell you right now, the health screening 60-plus program that we have is quite popular. That is where our Tai Chi program is one through, Steppin' On, which is quite popular, living with diabetes. There's just many health screenings that we provide, so there's that piece of the attraction. Plus, as Brian was indicating, some intergenerational programming that we can add. That Health Screening 60+ is not available at the YMCA. And it's bringing people together to collaborate on providing an array of programs. So it's not just the city, but we have relationships built up with, for example, Visiting Nurses Association that does foot care, or Dr. Haran, who comes in and does skin cancer screenings, or other things that we do. The phrase I heard from one of the seniors in Menasha that was really excited about Tai Chi is that we should be a hub, because it is very well received. Those are programs that we can build that are unique to Menasha Senior Center.
Okay. Has any thought been given to like having, seniors, I'm almost a senior, I'm 58, but,
I
You're
am one.
eligible already then.
oh, I'm eligible, okay.
You're very welcome to go.
Like, trips for the seniors.
Yes.
You have, I mean, I know Appleton Y, I know my aunt goes with the Appleton Y occasionally on trips. I'm not sure if Nina has the trips as well, but senior centers could sponsor brewer trips, and I'm sure the seniors of Menasha would flock to that rather than driving down with the traffic issues. And if that would be a viable option.
I'll just say that, yes, bus trips has been discussed. Megan has a lot of
Yes,
experience
yes.
running bus trips. That's, in her comfort zone for sure. So, yeah, you'll be seeing some bus trips.
But at the same time, perhaps the YMCA has bus trips and we can advertise for those. So, I
Right.
mean, there's enough stuff to go around, and I think it's a matter of collaborating and partnering and making sure that we offer you unique opportunities as well.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Taylor.
I think if you partner with Jitters across the street, you get a lot of senior centers, especially the baseball games, so. Just a little tongue in cheek there. Mayor, we're gonna adjourn our budget review session at 6 o'clock for the council meeting.
We are going to try to finish up some of this, so we'll probably be closer to 5:15, but
5:15?
6:15, sorry.
Okay. 6:15. Thank you.
Alderman Severnick.
Okay, thank you. Nancy, could you follow up a little bit on the professional service management of the $7,000 and how that relates to with the senior, or with the YMCA?
So
What
the
that-
YMCA contract for $93,000, a large percentage, of course, is their staff salary and benefits, or
Right.
wages and benefits.
Have they prepared for this?
Yes,
Okay.
we've had discussions, the mayor and I. In fact, I talk to them quite often.
Okay.
But what we did is just pull out the wage and benefit piece here and, ask if they would transition with us the month of January.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, we have, it's about 5 minutes to 6. So Nancy, if you could kind of run through your stuff quickly so Kevin gets maybe 10 minutes as well. Yeah, we asked her to take out about half of her slides,
I'm
but
sorry,
we
I
didn't
didn't
quite
take
make it.
anything out, but I will go through it quickly. Well, you can see that the majority of our programs are grant-funded or supported in part by contracts and donations and inspection and licensure fees. And, I want to point out a couple new ones this year. We have not only a childhood lead poisoning prevention program, but we have a lead-safe Menasha program. It was funded last year, and we recently received another grant. So we've been working on that. The other one that's new to you this year is the opioid crisis. And I want to say thank you to everybody, because you've been very supportive. And when I look at this and the accomplishments I look at, thanking all of you that these are our accomplishments, not just the health department. We couldn't have done it without your support. I will quickly go through the mission. You see, we value working with the community, and our mission is to protect and promote health and safety. We're always going through this and constantly reviewing our mission, vision, and values, and we have overarching goals that really aim to improve our communication both internally and externally. So want to make sure that we're improving the flow of information to you all. We can go to the Employee Safety Program, and if you take a look at page 39, I'm just going to go through some quick accomplishments here. This year, we partnered with CIVMIC on converting what Todd Drew did last year with them, which is protecting municipal employees from opioid or fentanyl exposure. They translated that from a webinar to an online learning platform, and now it's available to all cities and villages, not just the city of Menasha. And that undertaking was in kind by CIVMIC, but the concept was supported by the state of Wisconsin. Our budget here this year is going to change. The expenditures are going to go up because we have a CIVMIC grant that pays 50% of supplies. So you'll see it reflected in the expenditure budget, but it's also a revenue. So it's offset by revenue. The second one, sealer of weights and measures. There aren't any real changes to this grant, but every year there's about 600 devices. I believe there were more this year inspected, and about 17 responses to complaints. 0903, which is our health department budget, on page 110. Just want to tell you that we've really done a lot of influenza vaccinations this year. We have listed what we did in 2018, which is our most recent year, but we looked at the numbers, and you said there were 727 influenza vaccines given this year. We're out of adult flu vaccine, but we do have children's flu vaccine. So just so everyone's aware. We really enjoy a good working relationship with the Menasha Joint School District. And we appreciate that opportunity to work with them, giving all of the school health services and then also providing CPR first aid. 0904, which is the environmental health budgets. Pretty much you can see that we have done a lot of inspections this year, about 411 inspections, 38 dog bite follow-ups. We do some work with the Department of Natural Resources, and this year Todd was standardized with the food code without any kind of changes. He was stellar in his ability to meet the food codes and standardizations. Actually, any changes you see are really personnel costs. 0905. That's page 8. That basically is the health screening 60 plus that's subsidized by it is paid for by the Winnebago County Aging and Disability Resource Center grant. And this actually allows a public health nurse to serve the senior center. She also provides some school health services. But you can see in this area, over 1,000 people received nearly, 1,800 health services. So we're very pleased with that, and we have a lot of great partnerships that we're forging. One of them this year, which is really unique, is the Wisconsin Institute of Urology actually provided prostate screenings, and we also have worked with Hometown Pharmacy for influenza vaccines, as well as a program called Ask the Pharmacist. And I just have to call out, is it Jeff Cushman? I think I might get that wrong, from Hometown Pharmacy, who donates his time, comes to the senior center and works with our public health nurse to really advise and work with seniors. We convened the community dialogue for 60 people, and we talked about how beneficial that was in shaping our future. We really had an opportunity to listen to folks, and they gave us great information about how to move forward. Our budget's similar, but like I said, I did ask for an increase in that budget line, that grant. You can see we're working on metrics. You can see the participation that the public health nurse had by programs for her screening and events held this year so far. And this is very helpful because it allows us to see what's very popular and working and what we might need to do more of. Prevention grant. This is the Corny Community Walk, and this grant is slightly decreased in amount this year, and but we are still able to facilitate the 6th annual Corny Community Walk. The next one is the school health aides. School health aides are actually paid for by the school district. They are our employees, but the salaries are funded by the school district. And the dental program, this one, the major accomplishments this year, and I'm so pleased to share this with you, is that over 1,800 children had oral screenings, and this program is the one that does the fluoride varnishes, and along with the sealant program has dramatically decreased the decay rate. So the next slide will show, if you want to bring it up. There you go. So you can see back in 2005, we've been taking statistics. Before we instituted fluoride varnish and dental sealants, that the decay rate was at 18.5. When we started to implement those programs, the decay rate dramatically dropped, but we were challenged because it leveled off. We started to do online consents. We got great help from families in their participation, and now this last year, the decay rate was 6.8. So it's dramatically decreasing. We also want to thank the local dentists, Partnership Community Health Center, and Tri-County Community Dental Clinic for taking referrals from our program. You can go on to the next one. So communicable disease. This is a state-funded grant, and basically it allows us to disseminate communicable disease prevention messages, mostly on social media, so Facebook posting and making sure that the message is out about how to prevent communicable disease. But it also helps us to do some follow-up. So that's not changed. The next one is Lead Safe Menasha. This was successfully awarded in 2019. We had one in 2018. I want to tell you how unusual it is to get this type of grant 2 years in a row. So the performance, and Christine is actually the person who monitors and advances that grant. The performance was very well. We actually were able to work with UW Oshkosh nursing students to go with training, actually do training at Partnership Community Health Center with their nursing and physician staff on lead work and how to notify families and making sure that they do testing, blood lead level testing, in an effort to prevent childhood lead poisoning. This year, the grant will take our Menasha lead hazard database and work with it to make it GIS map friendly. And then families can go and look on that website and see what the lead hazard may be in their homes. And then we would, through this grant, continue to do lead hazard education, especially through the healthcare providers, Partnership Community Health Center, offer water filters if homes have lead or galvanized service lines, and develop a lead safe Menasha consolidated plan. That would be a huge accomplishment. We're working actively on that. The next one is the same grant we've had for quite a long time. This one is just monitoring lead level tests that we receive from the State Lab of Hygiene, and offering families technical assistance and walkthroughs if the blood lead level is elevated. Okay. Next one is immunization, and basically this grant has a slight increase. We have a pretty good compliance with rate with children 24 months of age who complete their vaccines. Can we do better? Yes. And so we continually work on making sure children are up to date on their vaccinations. The next one is maternal and child health, and this supports breastfeeding-friendly workplaces. And again, Christine has taken that on as part of her workload and really worked hard with the city of Menasha to make it a breastfeeding-friendly workplace. So you'll see that reflected in the employee handbook. Dental sealants, that is in combination with 0909, the dental program, varnish program. And this past year, she almost doubled, well, more than doubled the number of dental sealants placed on children in the school system with permission of their parents. And these programs are offered at no cost to families. This is all funded by grants. The grant actually increased this year, so that was good. And then, again, you can see the decay rate. And then opioid crisis response. I want to thank Chief Stika, Chief Clone, Gold Cross Ambulance, Unity Recovery Services, Director Lentz, Library. We all came together and we recognized that there are problems in our community with opioids and other drugs, alcohol. We applied for a grant, received it, and we were able to develop a program called the Menasha Community Addiction Assistance Program. It's very much like the Appleton Law Enforcement Addiction Assistance Program, only it takes the folks that are out in the field with families, with people in their community, and offers them assistance. We've trained staff how to hand cards out. It links people with recovery coaches so that they can get on the road to recovery and get the needed resources. So we're actively working on that. You'll see that there's no funding in this particular budget because there wasn't a new grant out yet. But we are anticipating a new grant out in December, which we would like to apply for. So you'll hear more about that, but I didn't want to include it until we knew for sure. There's a lot of good resources on our website that describe this. And then the bioterrorism is the next one. We completed an excessive heat plan this past year. We implemented toolkits for people with disabilities and did some training, managed our influenza vaccine clinics as part of an emergency preparedness and response exercise, and we basically stay prepared year-round. 24/7, this is our communications budget. It's really from different grants from over the years, and this covers our cell phones that we have for communicating. And then finally is the senior center, which you have already reviewed.
So if anyone has any questions for Nancy, we're going to move on to the fire department, and we're going to hold off on the finance update. We'll do that one when we get to that segment in the budget. Apparently Kevin's just going to stay back there. We're just a little bit delayed because we had technical difficulties last Wednesday and we were unable to hold our meeting, so we had to hold it tonight before the meeting instead. So we should be done fairly quickly with this, and then we'll move on to the next meeting at that point. Director Clone.
All right, thank you. I'll just do just a brief history from this year in 2018. As far as response times, we always are trying to figure out ways to improve response times and getting out of the station on a timely manner. An average for this past year was 4 minutes and 59 seconds. That's from the time to the alarm to the time we arrive on scene. So probably, again, as we look at some of the statistics from dispatch, we're probably one of the best departments in our county to be dispatched and arrive on scene in a timely manner. So pretty proud of that. Some of the other things, training wise, as you know, we've had 6 new hires over the past couple years, and we're gonna have 2 next year and probably 10 to 12 in '21. So one of our goals was to have some type of training manual so that not just our new hires have a guidebook, but the positioned firefighters do too, drivers, inspectors, captains, and shift commanders. And so over the past year, we created a job performance requirement book, and they carry these around now. It's almost a training manual and a guidebook onto being consistent when we go out and do training, whereas before each shift and each different station was kind of on their own depending on who was doing the training. So even though we have our training chief to help guide what we're training on, sometimes depending on who's doing it outside of the training chief, it can be, you know, done on somebody's own recollection of how it's done. So now we have this JPR book that we created for each position, and everything should be more consistent and then done in a timely manner. So we did that over this past year, so we have a really nice training manual for whoever steps into a position. Then we move over to our fire prevention, and we have we had our 2% dues audit this year through the state. And so with that 2% dues audit, and we passed, the city of Neenah received $84,000, almost $85,000 in 2% dues on behalf of Neenah Menasha Fire, and the city of Menasha received almost $46,000. So we have that coming in for our 2% dues for the fire department. Some of the other things that we have done over the past year is we installed 391 smoke detectors between the 2 cities in the homes of, sometimes it's through Rock the Block when we were doing Rock the Block, sometimes it's going on calls and noticing that smoke detectors don't have batteries in them or they're missing, and so we go back and install them. And those smoke detectors are paid for through the Red Cross, through a grant through the Red Cross. And then also we've had last couple of years, we've had a private citizen in the cities donate smoke detectors. So we probably got about 300 of them on hand just to install. We keep 4 or 5 on a truck in case we have something when we go on calls, so they're always readily available. The other thing that we've done for inspections is that we performed about 3,000 building inspections last year and found and recorded about 3,500 violations that were found and corrected. And then also our public education, which has been something that's recognized statewide. We just had one of the leader of our public education team was nominated for Public Educator of the Year at the conference here a couple weeks ago, so we're pretty proud of that. But we made contact with about 12,300 adults and children over the past year. One of the nice things that we started this year with some of our pub ed is that we went to Shattuck Middle School and also the Boys and Girls Club, and we did some firefighter training with them. The Shattuck one was during the school year, and we did kind of a combat challenge where the kids got to drag hose and wear an SCBA, do some different, did it in conjunction with a gym class where they had to use some of the skills and conditioning that the firefighters do. And then the Boys and Girls Club, we actually worked with the police department here in Menasha, and we set up like a 9-week course or a class for them where we took them to Theta Star and went through the hospital and the helicopter. They went out to the training center and did some cutting of the cars and some work with our hose streams. We took them down to the comm center and showed them dispatch. And then the police department also did some things with them with doing fingerprinting and things like that. So it was a pretty cool first time program that we'll look to build on next year. And then one of the other things we wanted to do is to be out in social media and let people know what we're doing, what's going on in the community. We had one of the highlights was we posted, the firefighters made a 9/11 memorial flag from old hose from the city of Neenah and old fire hose from before we were merged. They built made a flag and did a skyline of New York City. We had, when they posted it and finished, we had 60,000 views of that picture, so that was pretty cool. Other than that, that's pretty much just a quick rundown of some of the highlights last year. We did we were working actually on a peer support for our firefighters with the city of Appleton, and then the tragedy in Appleton happened, and so now we've continued to work with them into PTSD and just some mental awareness, mental health with our firefighters. So we have a group that kind of goes back and forth between the cities to work on a plan in case something happens. We have improved our training records management, so we kind of streamlined how that was done. It was kind of at the officer's discretion when training was completed, but we can see an improvement from the year before with an average 135 hours per person, and this year we're looking at about 200 hours a person for training. So we've done a lot of training and stepping up with making sure that we complete all the different areas that we're supposed to. We've also participated over the last year in many of the career fairs in the valley. So at the high schools, the career days, the Fox Cities Expo Center, we've done a lot of career fairs because there is a shortage now of firefighters. Through the tech, where there used to be 60, 70 firefighters going through a class and then a waiting list, typically now there's maybe 30 that start the year, and then by the time that program gets done, they're down to 15 or 18. Well, we're gonna hire, over the next few years, quite a few, and that's the same with, Appleton and Green Bay and Oshkosh. So there's a shortage, and we're hoping that we can find those kids right here in our two cities, going through the high schools and meeting with them. We've had a lot of job shadows now over the last year, where before we never had job shadows. So we're really working with the middle schools and the high schools to maybe find some of those hometown kids that live right here in the cities and want to be on the fire department and serve the community. So we've been active doing that as well. So those are some of the things, and I hope if there's anything, we try and send out a monthly update of what we're doing in the fire department. So if there's anything else that you'd like to receive from us, we'd be more than happy to put that information together. But we continue to try and keep you informed of what we're doing. So anybody have any questions for me?
Alderman Langdon.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, this is budget workshop, budget time, so we can make motions during this. So I'm going to make a motion let me give you a little bit of why I'm doing this before I make the motion. I went around the past couple of months, maybe even longer. I went to almost every fire station and talked to the guys and took tours of their fire stations. And I won't even say what our station, because if you don't understand, Station 35 is the city of Menasha's station. Station 32 is the city of Neenah's station. They take care of theirs, we take care of ours. And so I took another tour, and I stopped in, got the door open to the bathroom / shower room, and I just looked around and said, oh my God, this is what you shower in? This is what you go to the bathroom in? And they said, yeah. So I was looking at that, and I talked to the firefighters that work that station most of the time, and they didn't believe me when I says, well, I'm going to get you this bathroom. And Kevin was at a meeting one morning, and I went in there, and all of a sudden the two firefighters that were stationed there got up and left. And I went to Kevin, I go, why'd they leave? They don't care? And no, and Kevin, the fire chief, told me that they're just frustrated that they hear that every year. And then it either gets taken out of the budget or it doesn't get approved. So, also, with that, I've been working on the fire rescue squad. And there too, I talked with Chief Kevin that is here tonight, and then Chief Victor and Chief Vernon over at the Nina's Fire Station. And I talked to them about the fire rescue truck that they have now. And so this past week and a half, Kevin and I have been, talking with each other, and he's been doing his homework with his guys, and they feel that the fire rescue vehicle that we have now will work for 4 to 5 more years. And I said, "You're confident?" And they said, "We're pretty darn confident. The only thing that gives out all the time are the lights. And the lights you have to have. That's a state statute, so they have to be running when they're pulling that boat." And so if we would go the route of approving tonight or in 2 weeks, we would be throwing a lot of money out the door. So instead of, and it's, if everybody can turn to page 273, because you're going to need to follow. And if you have your CIP books, that's page 42. Okay, so with this motion, I'm going to make the motion, well, first of all, real quick, is that we are not going to bring in a new vehicle and replace the fire rescue. And Nina's council has already said yes, they will. They liked this idea last week, so they're already on board with the motion I'm going to make. So the motion that I'm going to make is to remove 470-522.82-01 buildings. And that is for the Station 35, our fire station, and that is for their apparatus bay floor ceiling for $25,000 from the CIP 2021 CIP.
That's the 2020 CIP.
2020, sorry.
Okay.
So, and that would bring in, we can bring in Station 35, the shower remodel from the 2021 budget, and put that in this year. And with what we're going to do, the apparatus will be going into 2021. And by doing this, because we are not buying a brand new vehicle, that we are going to decrease our borrowing by $22,385.
Okay, I think you did half the motion and not the other half.
Yeah, I think I missed something.
So I think what you want to do is you want to reduce the motorized equipment budget
Correct.
from 32,560 to, is it 10,000 something?
What is it, Kevin?
10,175 would be
Got that, Debbie?
Menasha's portion.
So reduce the motorized
vehicle equipment from 32,560 to 10,000.
Is that in the CIP budget, you're saying?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
on page,
Right here.
it's on page 272 and 273. It's kind of split right down the middle of those two pages. Okay, and then you want to also remove the apparatus bay floor ceiling.
Correct.
25,000.
Put that into the 2021
And
CIP?
add, and then add Station 35 restroom remodel for 25,000.
over into the 2020 budget.
Yes. Apparatus bay floor ceiling.
So if we would do option 2, and we would vote on this the way it is, we will increase our borrowing by
Nope.
2,615?
Decrease your borrowing by about 22,000.
Yep, oh, I'm sorry.
Model
Waiting for
bathroom,
that,
30,
okay.
35.
35.
Okay.
And replace remodeling
Okay.
the bathroom at Station 35.
Mark, not Mark, John, could you turn the screens on to Televix so that Debbie can put this motion up here? It's a little bit confusing. I don't think we have a second. James had started to second it, but. Okay. I thought that you already, what did you have it up?
Mayor, while we're doing this, I have my mic on, so I have a
Sure.
question. Okay, so let's get something straight here. I understand what Alderman Langdon is doing is basically bumping this up a year, right? From the.
He's,
instead
yes,
of-
flip-flopping the
Flip-flopping,
floor and the bathroom,
Okay.
basically, is what he's
And
attempting to
I'm
do.
just kind of curious, why Kevin or yourself or anyone else did not bring this. We have a Neenah Menasha Fire Rescue Committee. I see Ted's got his mic on, so I'm concerned about this. This budget was, by the way, way over budget. And I give a lot of credit to the mayor and to the mayor of Neenah working together to get things in line for us. I okay with this motion. It's just that if this was such a priority, it should have been brought to our attention and we would have taken care of it. Especially when we're dealing with facilities in the city of Menasha. If this was such a problem,
So Kevin, I think that if I remember correctly, that you had this in the 2020 budget originally?
Yes.
The bathrooms?
Yes.
And also the bathrooms at the police station were in the 2020 budget. There was not room within our borrowing budget to do that, so I moved them both into
right, I was gonna say,
2021.
we didn't cut it, because the statement was said, we cut it. We didn't cut it.
No. And I moved them both because it was my understanding that we needed to bid them together. After Alderman Langdon asked me about that, I did check with Director Alex, and he did not budget them as being a single project. So we believe that there is money to do the fire department in 2020 and police station in 2021. It didn't make a difference in the price.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's why it was
I'm good with
bumped
the
other way.
motion, it's just the process is completely wrong. I'm glad that Alderman Langdon brought it to our attention. Yeah, I chair that committee and I'm unaware of it, so I tour the facilities and I talk to the firefighters and not a single person has ever brought it to my attention or to our committee. So I'll let Alderman Grady speak then.
Chief Cologne, I think this was in the budget for 3 or 4 years already,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
it's been in the budget every year.
Okay. Alderman Grady.
It may have,
I mean, no,
it may have been in the budget, but it wasn't in our budget, okay?
yes.
All right, let's make that.
I believe it was a request from the chief for
Right.
at least 3 or 4 years now. We just didn't have the funding to
Yeah,
do it
right,
yet.
right, right, right. No, thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Grady.
Yeah, Alderman Langdon, yeah, it's good. I like the creative accounting here, so that's all right, but I agree with Alderman Severnick that, you know, myself, Alderman Rapella, and Stan does chair the committee for the fire in Neenah Menasha, and this is like, boom, blowing on us at the last minute, and we gotta be more upfront and more ahead of some of these things. But my question is to Director Jacobs. You had a chance to look at this between CIP and spending and levies, and does it, what we have proposed in front of us, does it make sense for what this, motion entails, I suppose?
For the apparatus bay floor and the ceiling, and then replacing the remodeling bathroom, that's an even 25,000 out, and then 25,000 in, so that's an even wash. So I don't have a
Right.
problem there. And then reducing the motorized vehicle equipment, the amount should be 32,560 removes out, and the increase actually should be 10,175
Right.
instead of 10,000 even. So if the clerk could make that correction, so that is a net reduction in the borrowing then of 22,385.
Correct.
So that's a positive thing to do going forward. This means we'd be borrowing less, you'd have lower interest costs going forward.
Okay, good, thank you,
Does this
answered.
mean we're putting off the fire rescue vehicle then for the time being?
Kevin did, they did.
So, one more before you go to that question.
Oh, sorry.
Did Neenah approve this? Because they approved their budgets last council meeting, right?
Well, nope,
No?
theirs is tomorrow night, but the
There is, okay.
workshop, they approved it at the preliminarily
Okay.
approved it at their workshop last
Okay,
week.
okay, good, thank you.
So the squad, and we've been working with this for, trying to figure out the best route to go to do a replacement. We weren't really looking, even if it wasn't like brand new, we were looking at, one of the options was, cause the box itself is in really good shape, it's the chassis, the electrical issues with it. And so we were looking to see if we could keep the box and put it on a different chassis, whether it was new or used. We were looking at, maybe looking at, even if it wasn't an ambulance, like a smaller school bus that we could clean out and get it donated and put our water rescue stuff in that. But as Deputy Chief Voss and our mechanics had looked at it further, the real issue with it is electrical, which is caused by the old lighting that's on it. So even when it's not running, even if the lights aren't on, for whatever reason, it drains while it's sitting there, even though it's plugged in. But, so what we're looking to do is if we can just have some of that, the funds that are in there, take a look and have it looked at. So have someone, we have Red Power Diesel that looks at some of our bigger ticket items for our trucks. They would just do a once over on the motor, the electrical, the tires, just kind of give it a good once over, and that's what that would be used. So our thought is if we can do that, we would be able to hang on to this about 5 years and then talk to Gold Cross about their ambulance. Because the one thing that this one, that it doesn't have is 4-wheel drive, and when we back that boat or the ice boat down into the landing, sometimes it's not gotten stuck, but we've had issues with it when there's snow in the end of the landing. So Gold Cross has 4-wheel drive ambulances in service now. They've had them for 2 years in service, and they replace them every 7 years. So we're looking at about 5 more years. Then they said, hey, we'll have some 4-wheel drive ambulances available. And so then we're able to say, hey, we will look at replacing them, in 2024.
Alderman Taylor?
I did go out and tour the station to look at this epoxy floor ceiling for 25,000. And certainly it's really in great shape, and the type of floor covering that we use now works just fine. When you go to epoxy, you really have a lot of issues with joints and if you drop equipment on it. So I'm not in favor of the epoxy floors. But the ceiling that we've been doing since the beginning on these floors with the clear varnish or whatever it is. Fire Squad 32, which pulls the boat for water rescue, is a retired Gold Cross ambulance. Earlier this year, I did reach out to Gold Cross, and at the end of this year, they will have 2 units that'll be available for donation to the city. And that's an option too if this other unit's gonna, time has passed it by maybe we need to just upgrade to a newer unit, better wiring circuits on it if that's the problem. And you had mentioned this gets stuck at the landing. Well, certainly with our public works director here, maybe we can do a little better plowing where you guys enter the landings in the winter and swing the salt truck in there and salt that, good for you too. So that would help both situations. And of course, I'm in favor of Mark's motion here. I wasn't aware of the bathroom, so I didn't get a chance to go out and look at that, but I will support Alderman Langdon's motion here tonight.
Thank you, James.
Alderman Sevenick.
Oh, I thought he had his mic on.
I think he just hasn't
Oh,
turned
okay.
his
It haven't
off.
That's
showed
fine.
up yet.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
go ahead.
So, I agree with Alderman Taylor about the epoxy. That would have been one of my cuts regardless. And if you want to use it for a bathroom, fine.
Yeah.
So, we were not ever told, ever at any point about the bathroom. And, as far as in the budget, so the public knows, it wasn't in my budget. It was already reduced from the mayor's at some point, most likely.
So the capital improvements in our 2 stations, 35 and 36, are just approved by me, not by Mayor Crawford. The entire budget would go through
Right,
both of us for
well,
operations.
that's what I meant.
So,
You know
yeah.
that.
I just want to make sure everyone else knew
Yeah.
that the Neenah mayor doesn't dictate repairs.
No,
to
you
our
guys
buildings.
have to sit down together and work on an agreement, and the budget was quite high, and I didn't think you guys were going to accomplish what you did, so I
Yep,
give
we-
you kudos for that.
We did work together on the operating budget though, yes.
All right.
Okay, so, I made a motion, the motion's up there, right? And Alderman Kruger, you seconded it, so I can turn my mic off.
You can.
Okay.
And Alderman Taylor had
I
something
thought I
else yet?
seconded it.
Yep, I'm sorry, he started talking right as I turned yours on, so I thought I'd wait for a second till he was done.
I thought I had seconded. You did. Stan
You had seconded before he made the rest of the motion.
I didn't know
So,
the
and
bathroom
then-
was coming, so, okay, that's fine. And let's move this along, Mayor. The public has been waiting over 40 minutes now.
So, and you were 20 minutes late as far as that's concerned too. So if there's no further discussion, if we could have a roll call vote on that, please? Yeah, so this is on the motion to amend the fire department budget.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Sure, that's fine.
No, we had a meeting today at 5.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Did you have something else, Alderman Taylor?
Kevin, firefighters, let them know right away. Thank you. Hold off on the showers until we fix it up. Jeez.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to hold off on the final recap by the finance department. We'll do that when we go for the resolution for the budget. If there's no further questions for Chief Clone, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Second?
There's a motion and a second by Alderman Grady. Tom Grady, sorry. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.